Hi everyone, welcome to my week 6 presentation on political neutrality. One of the more controversial topics in public administration is the ability to separate politics from administration. Um, Early on in public administration studies, it was viewed very importantly to be able to have public administration or administrators act independently regardless of political views or pressures from outside government forces. That way that the agencies were able to fulfill their tasks and their goals to the best of their abilities to better serve the public and not have outside influences um, enacting their behavior. So since then, there's been a lot of gray area because everybody has a political affiliation, everybody has their core values and belief systems. So there needed to be more regulation or guidelines in order to better navigate this gray area. So in 1993, this federal law passed called the Hatch Act. It did a number of things. One, it limited political activities of federal employees. So federal employees were no longer able to use their position to influence or help other political parties in that manner. But it also helped ensure protection to federal employees. So federal employees still had their ability to have their personal and independent viewpoints, political ideologies, without having to fear retribution or pressures from their bosses or higher ups in the agency to follow the same political mentality. And it also helped ensure that the job advancement in federal employees was purely based on merit versus political affiliation. Political neutrality. So before I touch base on this, I want to just to touch base on Wilson's politics administration dichotomy. So Wilson strongly believed that it was vital for there to be a separation of politics from administration in order to convey trust within the public and have administrators function efficiently and without manipulation from government agencies, other government forces. But as time went on, this is hard to do, and it's often referred to as a false dichotomy. You just can't separate out politics from administration. They kind of go hand in hand. So instead of this politics administration dichotomy, instead we focus on political neutrality. So administrators still have their personal values and their personal political preference. So the administrators who are heavily involved in policy making can often end up making policy that's very heavily influenced on their political views. So instead, we focus on this political neutrality. So when policy is being enforced or written up in government agencies, they need to try to make sure that they're politically neutral and that at the end of the day that the policy that they're enacting or moving forward with is to advance the agency's goals and better help the public or serve the public that they're working for. As a public employee myself, I do think it's essential to have these political neutrality concepts in place. My current employer does often remind us to practice safe social media um, guidelines. When we get hired on, we clearly get a policy or the organization's policy on social media and how to for all the employees to behave when we're in uniform and when we're outside of uniform. Because at the end of the day, even when we're not here at work, we're still representing the agency that we work for. And I think when we come into public service, we actively take on that responsibility and we should be able to hold ourselves to a higher standard than what we would normally do if we were working somewhere else. And there are measures to keep your social media accounts private. So if you were to put your foot in your mouth based on heated discussions or controversial topics, there's less likelihood of you getting in trouble. So there's a lot of steps that one can take to protect the freedom of speech um, and their privacy. So it's just a matter of taking responsibility for one's actions and knowing that once you accept this public service life, that the not only are you holding yourself to a higher standard, but the citizens that you serve are holding you and expecting you to function at a higher standard as well. That's the end of my presentation. Thanks for watching, and I hope everyone has a great weekend.